Whose stock is up, whose stock is down after week 11 for fantasy football? Looks like we got a special guest today. First, we have to talk about Sean Tucker. I made a whole video devoted to him earlier in the week. I mentioned him in multiple videos. I really hope you guys picked him up. People were asking me how I knew, how I made this call. It's basically just, I have a really good instinct for this, guys. I don't know what to say. I'm uncommonly good at this sort of thing. It's why I've won 36% of all my fantasy football these last 20 plus years. Every season I make a couple of these picks. And the situation was there. I mentioned how Tampa Bay had the best running back backfield for fantasy last season, how Rachaad White was really not cutting it, and how Sean Tucker had the upside to do this. Just keep in mind he was outsnapped by Rachaad White still this game, 31-43. I still think he's a guy that you can start probably the rest of the season, even if Bucky Irving comes back in some limited fashion. I've ranked him higher than most experts for a bit now. You can go to my site, fansports.com, and see where I rank all the players in the NFL. I'm updating all those rest of season rankings every time I mention a guy in this video. Another riser is Tyrell Shavers. No problem if you hadn't heard of this guy going into this week. 4 catches for 90 yards and a TD for Buffalo, plus he had the most snaps among any wide receiver on the team, tied with Khalil Shakir. Every Tuesday I make a video on who you should pick up on waivers. He'll be mentioned there. He's 6'6", runs a 4.38 40. He has potential. My preseason sweetheart, Bryce Young, look, I don't get every call right, had a huge game, 448 yards passing. I can't rise him up too high, though, because he only had 1 rush for -1 yards. It was a QB kneel, and his rushing upside, getting 6 TDs last year, is why I valued him higher than most experts. However, I am giving an upgrade to Tet McMillan, a guy I drafted in a lot of leagues. I've been holding steady on, waiting for this kind of breakout game. A lot of people said that AJ Terrell was a shutdown corner. I didn't really buy it, and Tet showed why this game. 130 yards, 2 TDs, put him in the same category as Roma Dunze, as Emeka Egbuka, some of these guys who can break out any given week and have a decently high floor. Another riser is Emmanuel Wilson, who stepped in for Josh Jacobs and got the cursory Packers rushing TD that they basically seem to get every single week. Will be a very popular waiver ad if Jacobs is out, which it looks like he'll miss maybe a game or two, probably not out for the season because of this injury though. I'm not downgrading Roma Dunze despite a down game. He still led the team in targets. I'm also not downgrading Jamar Chase, even though he had a down game, still led the team in targets. Got to downgrade a handful of Chargers. They're heading into the bye this week. Kamani Vidal might have had his last start of the season. We'll see how Amir Hampton's health is. One I'm downgrading the most though, because I really liked him, was Ladd McConkey. He was 3rd in the team in both routes run and snaps behind Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen. And even though he didn't have any catches, I'm actually not going to downgrade Quentin Johnston for this game. He led the team in routes and snaps, which is a good sign. Upgrade also for Chris Rodriguez. I told you guys about him going into this week. He led the team in snaps when he was healthy. In fact, I actually told you about him before last week in Nesto's Crystal Ball, which comes out every Thursday when I will look 1 week ahead for who the top waiver pickups will be. Washington has an elite running back playoff schedule. They get Dallas, they get the Giants, a lot of friendly matchups coming up. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt goes down. He didn't get his first snap this week until late in the second quarter. The week before, he also was basically just the RB2, RB3 behind Chris Rodriguez. Hold him as an elite handcuff if you have the space though. Check out fansports.com to see where I rank all these guys. I'm updating the rankings every single day, adding new features every single week. My goal is to help you guys win your fantasy football league. So thank you for spending a few valuable minutes of your day with me here. Stay learning. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. By the way, there's an unabridged, longer version of this video. It's only available on my Patreon. It's just $2 a month to get early access to all my videos before I edit them down to make them under 3 minutes.